Welcome everyone to the Mail Fuzz TV podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Yep, I am here again.
Don't sound too enthusiastic.
It's hard to be enthusiastic when I'm with you, isn't it?
Welcome everyone. It's a TV news podcast. We talk about renewals, cancellations, shows that are been announced as pilot orders or series orders or your lunchtime order, any orders that
just shows in general,
and make fun of their plot synopsis as they often are.
Yes.
Stupid.
Maybe there'll be something for me to drink about today.
I feel like ever since I started saying that the intro though, they've not been as good. I think I'm jinxing it.
Yeah, you've been letting us down. You're not finding the good ones.
What do you mean? What they put out is what they put out. I can't just materialize different things.
Thing is, you could just write a fake one. No one would know.
Maybe I'll do that next time, and I'll you have to guess at the end which one was fake.
Which one was fake? Yeah.
God. All right. So starting off with the renewals, we have Percy Jackson has been renewed for season 3 at Disney Plus.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't write down the full title of the show. It's Percy Jackson at the something, but I did not care enough to do it.
I don't actually know what they went with. So the first book was The Lightning Thief, but I doubt they went with just that.
I want to say the word Olympians was in it.
Olympians is probably in there. Yeah.
So that's the something Olympians, the Percy Jackson and the Horny Olympians. There you go. I bet that's the title.
I mean, they are famously horny.
So Landman got renewed for season 2 at Paramount Plus.
Never heard of it.
From the image, Billy Bob Thornton was in it, but that's all I can tell you.
Okay.
Beauty in Black has been renewed at season 2 for Netflix.
That's a Netflix show that passed me by, like most Netflix shows, let's be honest.
Yeah. Running Point has been renewed for season 2 at Netflix.
Again, Netflix are just not real most of the time.
And CBS have renewed for a final season, an 8th and final season, a comedy called The Neighborhood.
Oh, well, I have heard of that one at least.
I actually have.
That's what happens when you get to 8 seasons.
I've not heard of this, and I'm like, wait, there's been 8 seasons of this thing, and it's ending, and it's getting like a send-off. I'm like, okay.
I didn't tell you anything about it, just like I have a vague notion that it exists.
Fair enough. We got cancellations as well, though. Cruel Intentions was cancelled after 1 season at Amazon.
Shocking.
The Recruit was cancelled after 2 seasons at Netflix.
Don't remember which one that is, but...
FBI Most Wanted got cancelled at CBS after 6 seasons.
Yeah, I saw this.
And FBI International got cancelled after 4 seasons, also at CBS.
Yeah, their like FBI slate is like dead.
No, because they're doing the NCIS thing where they've got a new spin-off in the wings. So they've kept the original, and they've got a new spin-off, but they've cancelled the previous spin-offs.
Yeah, you're right.
So this is the new procedural thing, is the original keeps on pumping and the spin-offs sort of rotate in and out every few years.
Yes, because that was the one with the stupid title.
There's an update on that later.
Can't wait.
And we got one important premiere date, which is season 7 of Black Mirror is going to debut on April 10th on Netflix. So we're pretty close to that. 5 episodes this season, including a sequel to USS Callister, which is one of the better episodes actually. So I'm
it is
by that.
While it's a good episode, I don't know how I feel about a sequel to it. So...
I mean, if you were going to say, hey, give me your top 5 Black Mirror episodes, and I gave my top 5, and you said pick one to get a sequel, it would probably be that one, because all the other ones would be like, you can't.
I agree with that,
yeah.
But there's just something inherently I don't like. It just rubs me the wrong way about Black Mirror episodes having sequels. It just feels wrong.
I don't know, I kind of like the idea of them occasionally doing a sequel. I kind of like the idea of an anthology show once in a while going back and doing a sequel to an old episode, but whether or not USS Callister is the right choice for that remains to be seen. But I do think it's a better choice than, like Shut Up and Dance should not have a sequel. San Junipero should not have a sequel. Like these are truly over one and dones,
And probably 2 of the best episodes as well that you just listed.
That's why they came to mind, because they're
they're
like literally my top 3 are San Junipero 1, Shut Up and Dance 2, USS Callister 3. That's the top 3.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go with USS Callister, but I agree with the top 2. But well, maybe not in that order. I don't know. Pass me on the day. It might change. But
I'm sure you agreed with that at the time, back when we
I
reviewed
probably
them.
did, but like, it's been years, and if you ask me now which one, like, I'd have to think about it, and I wouldn't be confident.
Mm, mm. All right, so on to the more juicier news stories then. So this technically is a renewal story, but it's got a bit more depth to it. So more of an actual article here. Ted Lasso is coming back for a 4th season. And not only is it back, because there was a lot of speculation when season 3 ended that, maybe it'll just become like, Ted will be gone, but it'll just become a show with the other characters, because it kind of felt like, oh yeah, you could follow these other characters without Ted and it would work.
There's a lot of talk of maybe a spin-off show.
Yeah. But no, Jason Sudeikis is coming back. Ted will be back on the show, and notably the first episode of season 4 is going to be, well, maybe not all set in the US, but certainly his stuff is going to be set in the US before he comes back for whatever reason. What's funny is I read the headline saying, like Ted Lasso is going to be in Kansas in season 4, and I went, wait, they're doing a whole season where it's in Kansas, and I thought, well, that's weird. Like, what? How are they going to get all the other characters there? But it's just the first episode. It's just Ted before he comes back.
I would kind of like, while I know what they're doing and I get it, I think there'd be something really ballsy about going, no, the show's called Ted Lasso. Let's follow him and just like him in like the MLS or something instead.
I would be happy enough with him being a separate plot line who just occasionally phones the other characters or something. But I think if you're not giving me Roy Kent, I don't want to watch it. So like, there needs to be a plot line there too.
The beauty of football is that managers often bring along their own coaching staff.
Oh, so Roy would come along. Okay, that's fine.
You could quite conceivably take a couple of the coaching staff with him to a new team in a different country. That would not be uncommon. So I mean, that's basically the start of the show, isn't it? Like Coach Beard comes with him, he brings him in. So.
True.
Yeah, it would have worked.
That's it. It's not happening.
It's not.
It's just, he gets an episode before he decides to come home or come back. I guess it's not home technically because he's from Kansas, but you know what I mean. Home for the show. So yeah. However,
this time, yeah.
I assume you were about to mention it was a women's team this time.
Yeah. Which is, I think it's interesting because the women's game's been growing a lot over the last few years. So this would probably help it grow even more in general.
Yeah, I can't speak to the real world part of this, but they did kind of set this up at the end of season 3. There's a moment where what's Juno Temple's name in it again? Kaylee, essentially, is talking to. Oh God, what's her? I've forgotten all the characters' names.
It's been a while.
Yeah, boss lady, that Hannah.
Hannah Waddingham.
Yeah, whatever her name was. I can't remember all the characters' names. Anyway, like where they basically say, "Hey, like I own this team now. This is a big thing. I want us to have a women's team." Or I can't remember what the exact dialogue was, but there was kind of like a like, "Hey, I want to make this more of a feminist thing going forward and like actually support women's football." And so. Yeah, they kind of set this up in some way, so I'm not surprised that they're going down that path. Juno Temple is mentioned here as that she's currently negotiating to come back. If that sounds scary, it's really just because all the other main cast were already locked in a while ago, so it's just like they've just not signed her yet, but she'll probably be back.
Let's be honest, Apple have the money to pay her what she wants at this point.
Yes, I'm sure they do. So... Yeah, they confirmed a lot of the other bigger names are already back. I do wonder if we'll see any of the players again. Maybe they're the things that they're the characters who might just maybe like a small guest cameo here or there. But because we're not focusing on them, they don't have to be around as much. Whereas Roy, Coach, mentions Leslie, the actor who plays Leslie's back. So
makes sense. Yeah, I can see the odd not as a regular appearance, but I can see the odd popping in and out from various other team members.
Yeah. So very interesting. But it does mean we get to meet a lot of new characters as well, though, because we'll get a whole new set of ladies on the new team.
New squad. Yeah, I think it's quite funny because I think the online perception has kind of soured on Ted Lasso, over the last year or so. But I think the general public is still pretty on board with it. I from what I see of talking to people in the real world, like at work, things like that, people still seem pretty happy with it. Like no one, I think it's a very online thing that's turned on it.
I mean, season 1 is definitely better than seasons 2 and 3, but I still found seasons 2 and 3 to be very feel-good watches for the most part, outside of one or two dodgy subplots that I wish they didn't bother with. But you know, like there was a whole romance thing for Keeley in season 3 that just kind of died all of a sudden, and it didn't feel really that connected to anything before it did die. You know, just things like that. But for the most part, there was good moments. There was, you know, there was uplifting elements, and I think Roy and Ted's relationship as it grew over the seasons was a very much became the heart of the show to me. And even like Coach, I hated for a little bit because he got that awful episode that was tacked on. Absolutely despised that. But then he sort of won me over again because he had some of the best emotional little bits with some of the other characters later on.
I think it's probably fair to say it's not like the best written, like best show ever, but I think, you know, it's a good, solid, fun watch most of the time.
It's very earnest and uplifting, and I appreciate that. But without ignoring that there's real mental like health problems being addressed as well, as it, you know, and the performances are good. So like,
oh, absolutely, and I think as much as the internet might have soured on it a little bit, I still think this is a pretty safe bet for Apple. In terms of like making it, in terms of the general public watching it and getting the numbers, I think it's still a pretty solid bet.
I wonder for Apple how much of a like thing it was getting Sudeikis back. Like, is it a case of if he just like put his foot down and said, no, I'm definitely not coming back, would they have had like the continuing spin-off back quicker, and they just held out because they knew that he was open to coming back at some point, but just not right away? Or was it a case of either he comes back or that's it, it's dead as far as they're concerned forever? I'm not sure what their stance was on that.
Maybe. It's hard to, there's so many things. It could be completely unrelated to that, and it could have just been, let's just see how this sits for a while, and then maybe they were reassessing as to whether they wanted to, maybe they didn't know if they wanted to do a spin-off or a season 4, or like, because this could conceivably have just been a new show, like Ted Lasso, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And just start again at season 1. Like, they could have comfortably done that, but it sounds like it is just going to be bucketed as season 4, right?
Yeah, it's just season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's I am happy enough. I'll enjoy watching it when it comes back, and maybe a few years off will have, you know, really rejuvenated the writing team a bit to have some really cool ideas and do some interesting things. But yeah, okay. So yeah, Ted Lasso's coming back. But it's now also fell into that category of, oh, we're going to wait 3 years between seasons, like a lot of other streaming shows have.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll continue after this season, though. I felt like this is more just, there was a break, but like halfway through the show almost, if you do another 3 seasons.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they all signed on for multiple seasons. Has Sudeikis agreed to do more than one, or is it like, no, I'll do one, and then we can negotiate?
We'll wait and see, won't we? Like, maybe that's part of what was taking so long. They were negotiating a multi-season plan of like, okay, here's what we want. Are you on board for that?
Yeah, I'm sure he's getting paid double as well, because he'll be getting paid as a producer and all that. As you know, like he'll have all those honorary extra roles that get extra paychecks that don't really amount to much extra work.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to be fair to him, like, you know, I think he like co-created the character in general, right? So
oh sure, yeah.
Like before it was an Apple show, so that, you know, he probably deserves a higher percentage of the show than most just like lead actors would on their own show.
All right. Speaking of things coming back in some form or another, so Hulu's doing a new Prison Break TV show.
Of course they are.
This was greenlit a little while ago, but they had casting for it this week, and because it surprised me to see it, I was like, oh, I'm going to mention this. Like, they're doing a Prison Break show. It's apparently set in the same world as the original, but there's no characters from the original or anything expected to ever show up. It's just kind of like...
So why does it matter?
I think it's just to, like, because fans of the original rub their hands and go, oh, it's possible. Maybe one day one of them will show up.
I hope it kills.
It's a whole new cast. It's coming from the guy who did Elgin James, who did Mayans MC and The Outlaws. So Emily Browning, who is the lead in Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch. So her face sends shivers down my spine. Lucas Gage and Drake Roger have been cast as series regulars. So I have nothing to add. I mean, Prison Break was a really kind of like watchable trash show for a season, and then it just kind of like didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had like one not good season, but one solid season, and then it just died.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it went for 4 seasons, and it had a revival season years later. But
yeah, well, people love trash.
And honestly, I feel like the most memorable thing about that show that gets referenced online now isn't that anyone goes, "Oh, remember when season one was kind of good?" And even that's debatable because like the acting from some of the actors on the show wasn't exactly great.
Mm.
Is the fact that someone who was killed and a head was even presented in a box, a la Seven. That character somehow still came back later on, and they had to like retcon why they were alive. I feel like that's the thing that gets brought up is just how like shamefully like I don't know what you
It is
call
like
that.
a peak example of network TV.
Yeah, just network TV trash, basically. It's just an example of that. All right. There's been a change of plans at the FBI. Or is it the CIA? Or is it both?
Go on, here we go. Which one of them's pulling out?
Right, so the news here is that it was meant to have a backdoor pilot in FBI or whatever other show was going to have a backdoor pilot in. They've decided not to do that. Instead, it's just looking for a straight to series order. So it's still like on the horizon. It's just not going to bother with the backdoor pilot. I think it's such a good idea. To be honest, though, I've bolded a sentence here though, which stuck out to me more so than this news.
Oh, go on.
This is from the writer who wrote the Deadline article. FBI, CIA. A title I hear is expected to change.
Oh, I wonder why.
So here's the thing. They obviously should change the title. It's terrible. But also, I think they're cowards for changing the title.
I think the fact that they didn't announce it as a working title makes them cowards. If they just call if a working title, FBI CIA, just so everyone knows what it is, funny but fine, right?
Uh-huh.
The fact that they announced that as the title, and then they watched our video, saw us laughing at it so much, went, yeah, we should probably change that. Cowards.
Nah, I'll end up with something stupid. It'll be FBI versus CIA. Dawn of Justice.
Yeah. Martha is always the answer.
Oh yeah, season finale of season 1 will be a big Martha plot. Watch. So yeah, I really only could this for the title update more than anything, but the actual news was it's no longer getting the backdoor pilot. Otherwise, we don't give a shit. So this next part didn't come from an article, so it's not on Deadline or anything like that, but it comes from the showrunner of the show. So I feel confident, and I happen to see this, so I threw it in. But Ronald D. Moore, who did Battlestar Galactica and did For All Mankind, and worked on Star Trek: The Next Generation back in the day. He is doing the God of War TV show at Amazon Prime, and he was on a podcast with Katie Sackhoff, who was one of the actors on Battlestar. And when talking about what he's up to now, he just casually mentioned that Amazon had given it a 2-season order, and that's not actually something I believe has been announced or actual news. But I mean, I'm inclined to believe him because since he's running the show.
I saw that. I think the fact that he said it publicly means it's probably true, unless this is a weird way of, well, now you've got to give us a 2-season order. The people are expecting it.
He's playing mind games.
Yeah. I think the fact that it wasn't edited out, because they'll have to send these things off to approval, right? For approval to get them like okayed by a PR person when they're making statements like that.
Mm.
So it hasn't been redacted. No one's called it out. It's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows they're confident, or at the very least, they're hoping it's going to be a big hit, so they want the ball rolling properly, so that they're ready with season 2 as quickly as possible after season 1. Because he said he's in a writer's room, so presumably maybe they're breaking stories for both seasons, so that at least the writing for season 2 is already like way ahead by the time they've made season 1. Which
would make sense, and maybe that'll help cut down on the turnaround time between seasons.
Yeah, very possibly. So yeah, and I think we're all assuming that this is going to be more based on the 2018 game.
I would assume so. He mentioned that he couldn't he tried playing it and he really struggled because he couldn't get his head around the controls.
Well, yeah, because he's an old man who's only played Pac-Man and things like that.
Exactly. But it did sound like it was more the 2018 one.
Yes. Although I suspect that he probably would still find the 2005 game confusing.
I agree, but I think the fact that he was specifically saying it was telling him to hit R1 a lot, and he was like, what's R1? And R1 is the specific example he used. And I'm pretty sure that's the basic attack button in 2018, right?
Do you know what?
I'm sure that's a bumper or sword and shield style thing.
You put the controller in my hand, you put the game on, my muscle memory will take care of it. But ask me to tell you, I could not tell you.
I'm 80% sure it's a bumper sword and shield style, like Dark Souls style combat game. Whereas the older ones were face button attacks. They were more mashes, weren't they, back in the day? Because that was before shoulder attacks were kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to think he was trying to play the modern ones.
Yes. But the good news is, though, if you're a fan of the games and you're worried that it's bad that he's not played them, the good thing about video games is you can also just watch someone else play them and get all of the important story stuff that he needs to get. So...
Yes, I don't think this is a case of he has not consumed the content in any way, just more, hey, can you play this for me? I'll just watch a playthrough on YouTube if worse comes to it, because there'll be plenty of those out there.
Oh, there'll be tons to pick from. That's where we are in the world. Watching a video game has never been easier. So, yeah, I mean, he's a good get. He's made good shows. It could turn out to be good things. But
He's got a proven track record, and there's plenty of solid material to adapt.
And Amazon made one of the few good video game TV shows so far with Fallout. It was very popular. People liked it. So it would be kind of another feather in the cap.
Tend to give reasonable budgets to things.
Yeah, what's some stuff? I mean, they pick the right things, I guess, for the most part.
They do, not everything, but like the things that need big budgets tend to get them. Like if they're greenlighting them.
Yeah, as opposed to Netflix, who gives out shit budgets to TV shows, and then Apple's the opposite of that, where they give big budgets to every TV show.
Yeah, Amazon are definitely more picky, but like the things that need a big budget to pull off what they're wanting tend to be given it.
Although Netflix do splash out for the movies, because I watched Electric State this weekend. I'm not happy about it. It was.
Isn't that like one of the most expensive movies ever made? Somehow,
$320 million. Now, apparently, I have since learned, since talking about it on the Ace, the sci-fi movie podcast, the episode's out today by the time this goes out, that part of the reason why Netflix budgets always look a bit bigger than they should is because they don't make any money from tickets. They don't make back-end deals with the actors, so they have to pay the actors more up front to compete with like the regular studios. Yeah. But even with that in mind, $320 million for a bland, safe movie that feels like it was written by AI is like... Chris Pratt's there, and he's playing Chris Pratt. Okay, I don't need to ramble again.
Would it be a bold take of me to say that the Russos should go back to TV?
Well, they're going back to Avengers movies, aren't they? They're doing the next two of those.
But I think all of their recent movies have felt like just big TV episodes in a lot of ways, and I think they know. I'm not saying they're bad at TV. They're very good at TV. They know what they're doing. I think they just took those skills and went straight into movies and made movies in the same way they make a TV show.
Well, which works in the Marvel context because it's kind of like a TV show and that a style's been established. They come in and they fill the role.
Yes.
Electric State, despite the fact that it feels like it should be like rich with things to say, and technically it broaches subjects, it doesn't have a shred of like a soul or like an artistic vision or someone pushing... like it just doesn't feel like there's a creative voice behind it. It just feels like sludge. It feels like content. # content.
Wow, gotta love the content. Real question is, could you watch it without looking at the screen?
Probably could, to be honest. You probably could. So at least not often anyway. Like maybe there's a couple of pivotal moments you want to look up at, but for the most part,
I'm hearing it passes the Netflix test.
Yes, which is why would we waste our time with Netflix content?
Yeah, they really annoy me with this because once upon a time they made good stuff.
Yeah. And the only things that ever seem to like break through now are like foreign Netflix shows because presumably there's different standards for some of the foreign stuff.
I think a lot of their animation is still pretty well regarded.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking stuff. Obviously, Squid Game broke out and is good, and there was a Japanese TV like a zombie show a couple of years ago called.
I remember. Yeah,
and that was pretty good from what I watched. So I think it's still possible, but it's definitely a lot fewer and further between than it ever used to be.
Yeah, their anime department's still pretty solid, but I think that's mostly like just actual just buying the licenses as well. Like,
Oh well.
uh,
Uh, so maybe God of War will be good because it's not on Netflix. That's basically what all that was saying.
I mean, look, Amazon have some good shows.
They got The Boys, they got Fallout, they have what else have they had in recent years?
I've enjoyed Rings of Power and Reacher.
Oh sure. Oh, I guess technically Gen V as well. But I just gotta lump that in with The Boys.
Yeah, it's all the same, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. All right, moving on to some other news here. NBC's ordered a comedy pilot. It's untitled. It's the Untitled Arnelius, Kalia, and Wilson project. It rolls right off the tongue.
That's definitely not a mouthful, yeah.
Yeah, so it's an ensemble comedy set at a native community center in Oakland, California. In the comedy, the employees hustle to keep the lights on while lifting up those in need. So, not a lot to go on, but
Workplace comedy in it.
workplace comedy, it's got a specific focus. It could end up being, if you're just feeling different, just purely because it's like, I mean, I can't think of a lot of like old folks homes that are. I mean, if that's what means here, community center, because supposed could be a bunch of things.
It's a native community center, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I assumed it was more like Native American, not like their community center, not an old person's thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I read it as old Native Americans for some reason.
I think you've just added that in.
I've just added that in. Well, fine. So it's the young Native Americans coming, like the kids coming for like activities to do at the community center or whatever.
Yeah, I think that'll be part of it.
I could see like not that I expect the tone to be like Parks and Rec, but I could see them having a lot of recurring like locals who show up like every so often. They could do a lot of like bits with that.
I agree. Yeah.
So okay. NBC's also given a pilot order to Stumble, a single camera comedy from writers, executive producer Liz Ashtroff and Jeff Ashtroff. Yeah. So I don't know if they're siblings, if they're married. I don't know the relationship between the two of them. But Stumble is a mockumentary about the ridiculously high stakes and competitive world of junior college cheerleading.
Okay. Don't see a lot of mockumentaries being made anymore. They went out of fashion a little bit.
They had their time, but it's actually been a while since they went out of fashion, so maybe
it's time. A revival, yeah.
Maybe it's time for them to come back. So I don't know, like it's a weird subject, but I could see it being funny, like they'd been like super competitive about cheerleading of all things.
Yeah, I can see how the mockumentary style can fit into something like that.
Yeah. If you're a fan of the 2000 hit film Bring It On, you can look forward to this as something of a spiritual successor, which of course starred Eliza Dushku, who was in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Damn it. It's the only reason you brought that movie up, isn't it? you knew where you were going with that.
A little bit. She's not even the only person I could have picked in that, because Glory from season 5's in that movie as well.
Oh, no one gives a shit.
All right. Next up, a spin-off to Snowfall, which was revealed as in development back in 2023, has actually received a pilot order now by FX. Gail Bean and Isaiah John are going to reprise the roles of Wanda and Leon Simmons. So yeah, it's a continuation of the original story set in 1990s Los Angeles as South Central transitions out of the crack era, what a phrase, into the gangster rap business. I thought it was see what I was reading that there. I thought it was going to say a different drug, like out of the crack era and into the meth era, or something like
MDMA was big in the late 90s.
With areas heavily infested by gangs led by the Bloods and the Crips. Wanda would serve as the connective tissue between the original show and the offshoot, which is expected to introduce other main characters. Yeah, it's a classic spin-off sort of thing, I guess. Yeah, sure. I mean, I never watched Snowfall. It's like a gritty crime thing set in the 90s.
People seem to like it.
Yeah. So no. I mean, I guess it's just this example of anything that's remotely successful now has to have spin-offs and sequels.
Has to live forever, yeah.
But hey, other than that sort of broad jaded attitude, I don't really have anything to add to it. There's nothing inherently bad about the idea. All right, next up, the Myron Bolitar novels are in the works as a TV show. So Emmy winner David E. Kelly, who created Lincoln Lawyer and some other stuff for Netflix, is working on these. He's teamed with Harlan Coben to adapt his Myron Bolitar novels as a TV show. In addition to writing the script, Kelly and Coben are executive producing the potential series with David E. Kelly's production president Matthew Tinker. The book's title character is a former top basketball player turned owner of agency representing sports stars and celebrities. There have been attempts to adapt the novels in the past, including in his feature films, but the writer Coben is particularly protective of the character. So notably, he's like co-writing and show running this. So yeah, I guess he was very particular about how his character was going to be used.
Fair, I suppose.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily make me think I will like it, but it at least makes me think he like cares about what he's doing, and it's going to be true to whatever his original vision for the character was.
I don't know if it sounds like my sort of thing, and even if it is, that doesn't mean his vision is good. But I respect that it is still ultimately his character, his creative, like it's his property. And he has the right to care enough to say no, we're doing this my way, or it's not happening.
Yeah, I respect his keeping ownership. Well, not that ends up appealing to me in any way. If anything, I would say it's highly likely that it won't, because it doesn't strike me that exciting.
The premise doesn't really hit you, does it? Yeah, but
hey, that's cool. FX have given a pilot order to Seven Sisters, a drama starring Elizabeth Olsen. It comes from executive producers Will Arbery from Succession and Irma Vep, who wrote the pilot, and Sean Durkin, who worked on the Iron Claw and Dead Ringers, who's going to direct it. And this is a reunion for Olsen and Durkin because he made the 2011 movie Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. To say that correctly.
Well, say that 5 times fast.
I never saw that movie, but I remember it having some buzz. I really should get around to it. But she was in that, and that was like her big movie debut, and it was his debut as a director. So this is a bit of a, coming together again. In Seven Sisters, a large, tight-knit family begins to unravel when a sister, played by Olsen, starts communicating with a voice no one else can hear, forcing each of them to confront long-buried secrets.
Okay, I can see the potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's that one little... Well, I was going to say supernatural element. Could be a mentally ill element, potentially.
I suspect it will play with that as to...
Yeah.
Like, where is the voice real? Is it in her head? Like, that's got to be an element.
But I think that's the hook there, because I think if you took that part out, there's so many descriptions we read about. Oh, a family meets for a reunion or something, and unburied secrets come to light, and that's all they give us, and it's like, that just sounds generic. But you put that in, and it's like, okay, that's your little taste, your little hook for what it's actually doing.
Like, if it was me doing this, it would be like the things that she's saying, like that she's hearing. Are they real things, or or is it? And then the question is it things that she could only have known if there was an outside voice telling her, or is it things that she could have subconsciously seen and noticed over years? Like, like, I can see how you can play with that to create a lot of like good moments over a show. Yeah,
makes sense. Next up, Lizzie Kaplan is going to star in a show about a crisis PR executive. It's landed at Netflix for development. Untitled as of yet, but it's coming from American Horror Story Delicate showrunner. I don't know what season of American Horror Story that was.
Delicate? I don't remember that one now.
But it's coming from Halle Pfeiffer. That's a weird spell. So it's Halley. Halley. So, because part of me thinks, is it just still Haley? But nah, because it's the 2 L's. So Holly. Maybe Halle. Yeah.
Holly.
Yeah. Anyway, A24 is involved. Kaplan's Westbourne Banner is involved, and Marty Noxon's Tiny Pyro Productions is involved. Do you know Marty Noxon was a writer on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I hate you so much.
I would have stopped before those last few companies, but I saw Marty Noxon's name and
had to keep going.
I'm going till I get to Marty Noxon.
To a point, I was like, this is just all the usuals that I would expect to be hearing at this point. I'm like, where are you going with this?
The potential series is based on the New York Magazine article "Get Me Risa Heller" by Sean McCreish. The article profiles crisis PR veteran Heller, who has worked with the likes of Jeff Zucker, Mario Batali, Anthony Weiner probably, Jared Kushner, and Jeffrey Toobin. My brain went to Wiener, but it's probably
Mr.
Wiener.
Wiener.
Written by Pfeiffer, who will serve as showrunner, the entitled Crisis PR drama follows New York's premier crisis PR fixer, Kaplan, as she helps high-profile clients navigate the worst days of their lives while striving to maintain her own image as a happily married mother of three without any crisis of her own to hide. Okay, that was personal and professional lives for a start.
And you know what? I will, in fact, drink today, even though it's on my normal. It is St. Patrick's Day, so I have to have an Irish whiskey.
Yes.
So it would be wrong to not do that.
Very, very good. So yeah, very long form personal and professional lives. You know what, I will say this. So a lot of the build up to the synopsis there did not excite me at all. Right? Oh, it's this article about a PR crisis. But I will say,
it just went on and on. Yeah.
I do see the potential in a character whose job it is to deal with PR problems for rich people, just purely because I can see the morality of like, do I help them cover this thing up, even though they're clearly an awful person? Like, I can see the potential there.
It's the same premise you get in like good law shows or movies, right? Like where you can follow the lawyer who knows it's the wrong thing, but it's still their job, and like, you know, the whole point is they've got to do it properly. So I can see there being something good there. However, I have one word that will ruin all of that.
Oh God.
Netflix.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's fair, but
yeah, if it was somewhere else, I do agree. There is potential in the idea.
Yeah. All right. CBS Studios and Propagate Content have teamed with actor and this is a weird thing to put in your thing, and manga fan Mazioka, who's worked on Heroes and Hawaii Five-O. He was in both of those.
Is it relevant to the story?
Yeah, I mean, it is relevant, to be fair. It's still just a weird thing to read, is like actor and manga fan, to develop a television adaptation of dark fantasy manga series Claymore in partnership with Japanese publishing company Shueisha. He's going to serve as executive producer, along with a bunch of other people. Written and illustrated by Nohiro Yagi, Claymore is set in a dark medieval world where humans have been preyed upon by shape-shifting predators called Yoma since ancient times. The survival of mankind depends on female warriors known as the Claymores, who fight the Yoma. The live-action series aims to preserve the action and complex moral dilemmas of the original manga and the anime TV series, which you can currently watch on Crunchyroll.
I've never watched the anime. I've heard very mixed things about it. The original manga, though, is phenomenal. I am very scared to see this in live action. It is like I don't know how this translates. It's, you know, it's very manga, like, you know, it's with big giant swords. Like, it's great. It's so good, and I don't know how this works in live action without looking cheap. I'm scared it's going to look cheap. I think this takes a big budget to look good.
Yeah, I can't say I'm excited by any of this, to be honest, but
I didn't think you would be.
I don't like manga. I don't like anime. I know I've never read a manga, but you know what I mean. Like, typically, I associate the type of things in manga with the same sort of things in anime. So I'm making some assumptions there. But fantasy, also not really my forte. So nothing about this is tickling any balls. So anyway, Disney Plus are done a pilot order for Coven Academy, which is a working title, a single-camera supernatural dramedy. And Coven Academy, written by High School Musical, the musical series. Wait, hold on. High School Musical, the musical, the series.
Yep.
I'm just making sure I had the right number of colons in there.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
Executive producer Tim Federal, whatever. A coven of teenage witches in training must protect their town from a looming threat.
Wow, that was vague. While I don't think either of us will ever watch this, I think, one, it's a good solid title. Don't change it. I know they say it's a working title. I think it works. And two, I think it's a pretty solid, idea for a single, a dramedy. Like, I can see the it's got enough of a little spin of it to give it like its own thing. But it's at the end of the day, you're still going to be able to play it like a high school thing. I think there's something there.
This is their Hogwarts killer. when HBO's got their Hogwarts show, this is going to be the rival.
The tone is going to be so different, but my God, can you imagine?
they'll keep making fun of some kid in glasses in this show just for the jabs.
Oh, I hope they do. I really hope they do.
All right. Speaking of Disney, Jon Favreau is working on a Disney Plus original series as well. Obviously, he worked on Mandalorian and done a bunch of those live action remakes that they had over the last few years. But he's working on a live action animation hybrid about Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which I'd never heard of, but it tells us here, so I'm happy. Do you know what this is?
I do not.
No.
Should I?
So it's a saucy, Oswald is a saucy, self-absorbed bunny. Favreau is writing and producing the project from Walt Disney Studios. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit is very important to the Walt Disney Company. The cartoon, which bears a close resemblance to Mickey Mouse, has a fractured history with the company and played a pivotal role in the creation of Disney's most famous animated character. Oswald was created in 1927 by Walt Disney and featured in 27 animated shorts. But after Universal took control of the character in 1928, Disney had to create a new character, a replacement. That replacement was Mickey Mouse. So this is Disney doing something with the character they had before Mickey Mouse that's kind of like Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
But he's a rabbit.
I think depending on if you play it as like self-aware, I could see there being potential in doing something with that.
Yeah, I have no idea what I mean, I guess they said saucy and self-absorbed, which makes me think it's going to be kind of satirical or at the very least a little bit edgy. So I don't know, but I'd never heard of this. This is deep Disney lore for people who are into that.
Who would have known?
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he knew that. So I don't know if I have much interest in watching it, but I enjoyed reading this history just to have a bit of, insight. It's just kind of funny though that clearly, this was clearly something that was important to them. Universal somehow got the rights to it, and then like it clearly was just forgotten in history by the time we were born because Mickey became the
Mickey
big
Mouse,
thing.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
It is.
So Prime Video is going to head once again to a Viking thing because the creator of Vikings, the TV show that was out a few years ago, is doing another show with Prime called Blood Axe. So
hang on. Before you say another show with Prime, wasn't the last Viking show on Netflix? Because the original was on Discovery. And then there was the sequel that I'm pretty sure was on Netflix.
I have no idea. I assumed it was at Prime. This is not. Do not take me saying again as a.
It was Vikings Valhalla was on Netflix.
Right. Okay. Well, Prime wants in on the Viking action. Then they're doing Blood Axe with the creator of Vikings, Michael and Horatio Hurst, and it's produced by MGM Television, which is just Amazon's company now. So yeah. It chronicles the rise of one of history's most famous Viking warriors, Eric Bloodaxe, and his formidable wife, Gunhild, Mother of Kings. Or Gunhild, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you tell I've never heard of these characters? As they fight for the throne of Norway, the land is torn apart by fierce rivals, shifting loyalties, and bloody betrayals. With war looming and chaos consuming the kingdom, drawing in the ruthless kings of the other Scandinavian countries, and even a powerful English ruler. The stage is set for a thundering, cataclysmic, compelling, and utterly magical new Viking saga. Just to make it clear, we're doing a Viking sequel show,
Vikings,
basically. Yeah. I'll be honest, I think that was a very fluffy description that just said nothing, basically. Just, it's going to be bloody, it's going to be all, everything, chaos is going on, and everyone's fighting.
It didn't tell me very much beyond, like, this is the time period we're doing, right?
Yes.
Which I guess is relevant because the two previous shows were set in different time periods because the Vikings covered quite a large span of time. So, yeah, it tells you that, but that doesn't tell you much about the actual show.
Yep. Yeah, I never watched Vikings, so I don't really have
I watched the first season, and I enjoyed it, and I always meant to watch more, and I just never got around to it.
Netflix has greenlit a show called Nemesis, the first series under the Power Universe creator Courtney A. Kemp's overall deal with the streamer, so she's making shows for them. Created by Kemp and Tani Marol, the project is already been casting for a couple of months. Nemesis is the story of two men on either side of the law. The tale of what happens when an unstoppable force, an expert criminal, Coltrane Wilder, meets an immovable object, a brilliant police detective, Isaiah Styles. Now, I want to complain about that sentence because they do the unstoppable force versus the immovable object thing, right? That's fine. And I'm fine with them putting one thing after each part to say, okay, an unstoppable force is an expert criminal meets an immovable object, a brilliant police detective. That's fine, but you can't do both the description of the character and the character's name. It feels like you've broken up the thing too much.
I think if you're reading it grammatically, I think you can if you put the name in brackets. I'm assuming it's not, and it's just another comma so to run on.
Well, no, actually, the other part's in brackets. The expert criminal part's in brackets.
Okay, that's weirder. I mean, functionally, actually, it works the way I was saying, but I think you'd put the name in brackets. Not
it feels clunky to me. It feels clunky. There's too much.
I think it's fine to. I think it works fine to read. I think it sounds bad to say.
Fair enough, but yes, I'm critiquing that. What starts as a series that aims to subvert the heist genre at every turn, amped with thrilling life or death stakes, family dynamics, and explosive action, actually gives birth to an exploration of what drives us, sustains us, and ultimately destroys us.
God, that got cheesy.
It did get cheesy. Also, there was kind of a personal and professional lives in there.
Not enough. I'm not counting that one. It's edging towards it, but I don't think it hits the beat.
It's gunning towards it, you mean?
No, yeah, sure.
I just learned what gunning meant recently, so I'm trying to...
expanding your knowledge.
Throwing it in.
Showing off your new words that you learned.
I've learned some Gen Z words, okay?
You'll be saying skivity next.
Oh, I don't even know what that means. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
No one knows what it means. It means nothing. I can say that from a position of authority, it means nothing.
All right, next up, Sam Worthington from the Avatar movies has closed the deal to star in the Netflix limited series I Will Find You. So it's based on a best-selling novel of the same name, 8-episode series, and Worthington's going to play David Burrows, an innocent father serving a life sentence for the murder of his own son, a crime he didn't commit. A tragedy he punishes himself for every day. When David receives evidence that his child may still be alive, he must break out of prison to find the truth.
Okay. He's a very bland actor for me. That doesn't get me excited about a project.
I mean, that's very... I think this title and the description are very bland. Everything about it feels very cliche.
That's the thing. It was a bland description, but if you had if it was the name attached to it, that was someone that I could see being compelling in a lead role like that, maybe it would change my mind. But yeah, I'm
not feeling much from that, if I'm honest.
No.
Netflix has greenlit a show called Vladimir, a limited series starring and executive produced by Oscar winner Rachel Weisz from Dead Ringers, The Favourite. That's what they've put there anyway. I would throw in The Mummy is what most people probably still think of first. But created by Julia May Jones, based on her novel of the same name. And Vladimir, written by Jonas and Robin. As a woman's life unravels, she becomes obsessed with her captivating new colleague. Full of sexy secrets and dark humor, the series is about what happens when a woman goes hell-bent to turn her fantasies into reality.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, if she goes full, crazy actor for this, it is this, I could see her, performance making this work. If she's, properly obsessed and all the rest of it and, whatever. Because I watched the pilot of Dead Ringers. I didn't want to continue it, but she was doing double duty and she's kind of this sort of sex-crazed character. I can kind of see her flexing her muscles with this role, potentially.
She's very good, yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, whatever. I don't
think it's for us.
I assume the colleague she's attracted to is called Vladimir, but I could be wrong.
Probably. Weird that it doesn't say that, though.
Yeah. But hey, unless there's some thematic links to the old people named Vladimir from history.
Hey, There are plenty of current people called Vladimir as well that they could be addressing. Who knows?
Yeah, but it sounds like an old school name.
It does, but I can think of one pretty high profile one.
I mean, yes. I highly doubt, though, it's going to link into Putin somehow.
I'm just saying, can we rule it out?
She's going to start having fantasies about Putin during the workday. It's going to be her driving force.
Hey, it would make the show significantly more interesting. Like, you know all those like propaganda images of him like shirtless on a horse?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's, it does it for her. Who knows?
Lucy Halliday's been cast to lead opposite Chase Infinity, what a name, and Andowed in the sequel to the Handmaid's Tale. That's what I was trying to say there.
I got a little bit less interested.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's called The Testaments. Now, here's the weird thing about this. So this is based on another book that Margaret Atwood did, right? She did a book, presumably called The Testaments, that this is based on, right? And so reading this description, because I was too curious when I was looking at the news earlier that I read this one. So I'll read it first, and I'll give my thought, right?
All right.
So, same showrunners doing it as the Handmaid's Tale as well. The Testaments takes place in the dystopian theocracy of Gilead more than 15 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale. The story follows the lives of three women, The Handmaid's Tale's Aunt Lydia, Agnes, and Daisy, whose fates become intertwined as they uncover the secrets of Gilead and the resistance against its regime. And the first thought I had was, oh, so the end of Handmaid's Tale's not taking down Gilead then.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and went, this actually kind of sucks for the show in a sense, because if they had any desire to ever possibly do this sequel book that Atwood had written, it meant that the Handmaid's Tale show, regardless of anything you think about it or like it going on too long or whatever, because they want to do the sequel book, they have to end Handmaid's Tale in a place that fits in some way with where the sequel book is. They can't just have a happy ending where Gilead is taken down because the sequel book exists.
They can't, but I feel like that. Like, obviously, you can dramatically just change things when you're adapting them, but I think if you wanted to, if you set out to adapt that book and you're in that world, like I assume part of the point of that story. I didn't finish the show because I got bored and I never read the book, but I assume part of the point of that book by the end is that there isn't an easy fix and everything's just the world's good again, right?
The original book, you finished where the show, like, because the season 1 of the show was the original book. All the seasons after that were all new stuff. Right,
exactly. So, like, the fact that there is a book set in that world, though, is like, okay, that's the point. It's not an easy thing. So, I don't know.
I'm just saying that, especially since they would have known probably while they were writing the final season of Handmaid's Tale that this was probably something they were doing, because the same showrunner, same network, all that. I feel like there's like a shackle around them where they weren't allowed to do certain things because this sequel show has to exist.
I also feel weird, like, I feel like they probably, if they had been allowed, would have adapted the elements of this book into subsequent seasons once they went past the first book anyway. So I have to assume either the book wasn't written yet and it didn't come out until fairly recently, which is possible, or they didn't actually have the rights to do anything from that book until they've renegotiated this deal. You know how like the Rings of Power show, the Lord of the Rings, can't only has access to like specific things that they're allowed to use, and they have to not address anything that's in these other books. I wonder if this was like that ideal that where it's like, no, you have the rights to this book, not the sequel until now, and now they're like, oh, okay.
It could be that. I mean, I don't know, but it could also just be a case of what the story of the sequel book is. It's like, it's set so far ahead. It's all different characters. Maybe there was just no feasible way of like fitting any of it into the original show.
The book did not come out until 2019.
Oh, okay, that backs up that then. The show was on season 3 by the time that this book came out then.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's again, everything has to keep going. at least in this sense, though, like I'm not blaming the writer of the book though, because this was literally just the second book, as far as I'm aware. Like,
is, yeah.
so it's not like, oh, she was milking it. I mean, admittedly, maybe the show's popularity was part of like the, oh, you know what, I miss this world. Like, I'm going to go back to it because I'm inspired again because everyone's talking about the show or something.
It could well be, but maybe, you know, the first book was published in 1985.
Yeah, because the movie was 1991 or something like that. Right.
So, you know, maybe that, like, she just like, I've got more things to say and I can use that world. Like, I've got new things to say because
I wonder what happened.
Times we've done, the world maybe isn't as much of a better place as I'd hoped.
Yeah, I wonder what was happening around 2016 to 2019 that might have inspired a few extra chapters.
Exactly. Maybe there are things like that. They're like, well, maybe there's a reason to revisit that beyond just it being popular.
But I wonder if Aunt Lydia is actually in the second book, or if they're just like shoehorning her into the show for the link.
No, it is. It says it's narrated by Aunt Lydia.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's the very first sentence on Wikipedia, because I was just intrigued then. Yeah.
I don't know if she got more sympathetic after season 3, but interesting if she is, like, still just as much of a bitch.
I'm just because I'm glancing at this wiki page now. It says Atwood wrote the Testaments in coordination with the show, letting the producers know where she was taking the sequel and letting them know certain character storylines are not affected by how they appear in the Testament. So, you know, so they'd know which characters they were safe to, I don't know, kill off or do whatever they wanted with, and still be able to do this later.
This is the opposite of George R.R. Martin with Game of Thrones, where she wrote a whole secret book, but let them know what was happening so that they could prepare around it, and then they're already getting a sequel, whereas he just still hasn't finished the next book that he was supposed to have out during the show.
I feel bad for him. I do, because, like, he knows the ending, I'm pretty sure of that. He doesn't know how to get there, and he hasn't figured it out, and now he's just like, I don't know how to get there, and he's just stuck at that book now.
Yeah,
I do feel bad for him, because without the TV show, the pressure, like, there'd have been a section of fans that were still angry, don't get me wrong. There are with other unfinished books I can think of, other unfinished series that, yes, are quite annoying, but let's be honest, the amount of people that pisses off is significantly smaller than before the show existed.
Yeah, I hear that sequel to the Bible's coming in any day now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there kind of was one, but, you know.
Was there?
Yeah, the Quran.
That's a sequel to the Bible? I was not aware of this.
Well, I mean, in many ways, yeah. The way they see it is Jesus existed and was just a prophet. Like, he wasn't the son of God, he was a prophet, and then Muhammad is the final prophet. So the Quran is basically an updated version of this is what the final word of God is. So anyway, we don't discount those things that you said. Like, the details might be a bit wrong, but he was still a prophet. He's still a revered figure within the religion. But yeah, so the Quran is kind of a sequel to the Bible.
Sounds more like a retcon. Sounds like someone said, "Okay, I like parts of this. I'm going to fix a few bits though."
Kind of. I mean, it's the same way that the Bible is essentially a sequel, because the New Testament is a sequel to the Old Testament, which is
of course, yes,
more or less just but that's more or less just the Jewish Torah.
Yeah, but they're always collected together, the Old and the New Testament. It's like a
yes, but the New Testament is
the omnibus edition of the Bible.
But yes, but the point is that's a sequel to the Torah. It just then gets clumped in. It's like those versions of Lord of the Rings where you get all 3 books in one copy. Because there's still 3 separate books there. You just call them one book. You just call them all the Lord of the Rings. But yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I set us down this path. I just wanted to make a dumb joke about the Bible getting a sequel.
But that's fair. But
where Jesus comes back with like a shotgun and is like, this time it's personal.
Yeah. That could happen too. It could still happen.
All right, last story of the week. We're here. NBC is developing a drama starring John Hurtis from This Is Us and Generation Kill, who will executive produce alongside the Rookie and the Recruit creator Alexei Hawley. So former Arrow co-showrunner Wendy Merkel is writing the
untitled... Probably later Arrow as well.
Probably, yeah. Is writing the untitled project based on the novel Fire with Fire, which seems like a fine title. So why not just use that?
I can see it's a bit generic, but yeah, it'll probably be fine.
Because that stops them any other time they're doing shit.
I think that's it. It doesn't help with the SEO.
So yeah, based on the novel Fire with Fire by best-selling author Candice Fox. The logline reads as follows: when a pair of grieving parents hijack an LAPD forensics lab, all right,
How?
and threaten to start destroying evidence until the police find their missing daughter, an unlikely partnership between grizzled undercover cop Enrique...
Oh my god, it's a buddy cop.
and rookie flameout Lynette Lamb is forced as they race to solve the cold case before the situation explodes. Oh, I've got a question here, right? Are you telling me the entire season of TV, this pair of parents have hijacked the forensics labs and are basically, they've got like a blowtorch and they're ready to start burning evidence, and every episode's going to cut back to them like almost doing it? It'd be like,
I'll do it, I swear.
Find their daughter, because like they say this to me like this is the premise, but I cannot see this being anything other than just a pilot plot that gets the pair of characters together, because it doesn't sound like, how do you maintain them? Like
I have no idea.
They're holding an evidence room or a forensics lab hostage.
I don't. Look, I have to give them credit. They caught me off guard for once with it being a buddy cop. Because it started, it didn't sound like it was going to be, and then all of a sudden it is. I'm like, oh, there's always one. There's always one every week.
That's true.
Drink to a buddy cop.
There's always a buddy cop show of some kind. This wasn't like, one's a cop though and the other's is something else.
It's not.
It's they're both cops, but
yeah, but you got the grizzled veteran and the rookie. Like,
but that's not new.
No, it's not a new trope, but like, they're still there.
I don't know what to make of that. And I want you to know, I took out a story because it didn't really seem like worthy of mentioning. But it did mention that Seth Green was in it, so I could go 3 for 3 and say he was in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I took it out because I'm a man of honor and a man of dignity.
Not enough to not mention it, though.
Oh yeah, I still went for 3 for 3, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So easy. So easy. But yeah, there you go. That's the news for the week. For this 2 weeks, I should say. Yeah, it was funny though, because because we do these 2 week cycles now, when I went back to just as the start of this cycle, all the articles were about the Oscars having just been on. I'm like, oh, that feels ages ago. But yeah, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. So
yeah,
fair enough. Lines up. So yeah. I just my only hope when I'm finding the news, other than maybe a couple of them being funny, is just at least have one thing that is easily the headline for the title and the thumbnail. Just give me something.
Yeah, I'd stick some God of War on it, you'll be fine.
It's probably Ted Lasso in this occasion.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ted Lasso because that was so early on.
That's probably the bigger news item of the week. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So some weeks it's a struggle though, where I'm like, what's the headliner here? What's the thing to put in the thumbnail? But
well, just pick the buddy cop show.
And do what? Put an image of Lethal Weapon?
People like Lethal Weapon. It might work.
All right, that's the show, everyone. What's coming up this week? What can I tell you about? So, yeah, there's some Patreon TV reviews. I did Scavenger's Reign, another batch of those episodes. Just went out yesterday. There'll be an 80s Twilight Zone later in the week. The Severance season finale is this week. Excited for that. Big 75-minute episode, so hopefully there'll be juicy things to talk about. There'll be a Trek on Wednesday. As has been the case for a good while now. We've had like a good month and a half with no missed episodes so far. It's been going smoothly. But
you just jinxed it somehow.
I know I probably have just jinxed this, but hey, there'll be a Trek on Wednesday. And aside from that, over on the movie channel, Electric State review on the Atomic Cinema Experiment has went out. So if you want that 2-hour epic, you can go and hear me and David talk about that. And
the movie being a 2-hour epic.
No, the movie's not a 2-hour epic. The podcast episode's a 2-hour epic. And then at the weekend, the finale of this season, a collector's cut, is out. The final Bruce Lee... Oh, no, sorry, that's next week. No, it's Enter the Dragon this week. The final episode's next week, which would be Game of Death. But
doesn't even know his own schedule.
I Oh yeah, just my brain's always operating 2 weeks ahead because I'm thinking of what we're recording next rather than what's going
Just
out
so
next.
excited to come back to more news in 2 weeks. That you're
Oh
already
yeah.
2 weeks ahead.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. It's been a delight. But yeah, Bruce Lee's season's finishing up on there, and then we're going to Mission Impossible season after that, which will end with the new one coming out in May. So because there's 8 of those things now. So
Yeah, when did that happen?
It just did. It's
Kind of snuck up, just like the Fast and Furious movies. They just kind of snuck up on you. Like all of a sudden, there's shitloads of them.
Yeah, well, Mission Impossible it took longer because they started like '95, but Fast and the Furious they've been pumping those out. Yeah. Well, once they got to 5 and it was kind of became this bigger thing, it was like, oh, right, now every 2 years without fail, here's another one. Here's some spin-offs.
They're professionals. They got them done.
Are you aware of the quality of most of those movies?
I have seen up to like 9, maybe 10. I've also seen 10. I've seen enough. I know the quality. They're terrible, but I have fun with them.
Well, 10 Part 2 is still on the way, so.
Yeah. Did I see 10? I don't actually remember.
Why would I know if you've seen 10?
They're all the same after a point. That I definitely saw the spin-off. What was the spin-off called?
Hobbs and Shaw, I think you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Which I've not seen,
that.
but I recall it existing.
I need to know if I've seen X. I've not seen 10.
Okay, very good.
There we go.
We're all excited to know that. Screams After Midnight, there's a couple episodes that have been recorded with Tim, which will be on the next couple of weeks. Basically, there's a week where Ace is taking a week off, and then a week where Collector's Touch taking a week off between seasons. Those 2 weeks will both have a new Screams After Midnight. Coming up on that, we've got Cuckoo, and we've got Strange Darling coming up. But so go check out that. Anyway, that is the show, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. You can support all the content and get bonuses over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Including bonus movie podcast shows and things like that over there, such as Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst things ever made and get really depressed. But that is
why
us.
isn't Electric State on Extra Reels?
Because it's a sci-fi movie. It's a new sci-fi release. It goes on the Sci-Fi podcast.
Yeah, but it's one of the worst things ever made.
Look. I've already got Borderlands scheduled for later in the year, which originally I was going to put on Extra Reels, and I said, "What? No, it's just a new sci-fi release. It should be on." It should be on the Sci-Fi show.
Okay.
Because it's not like on Screams After Midnight, we don't say, oh, this is a bad horror movie. We're not going to do that. We have to do the bad ones.
Yeah.
So.
True, but that's because Tim's just insane. Tim loves the bad ones.
Well, he is insane, but that's...
Tim brings you the bad ones and we're like, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. He does often. That is true. Anyway, that's the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?